Well, based on the Green New Deal, remember they started at 12 years. You only have about 7 years left. I don't think anybody's too worried, right? You could worry about nuclear warming, but you can't worry about the global warming. The global warming, they said the other day, I heard somebody, that the oceans are going to rise 1/8 of an inch over the next 300 years. We have bigger problems than that. We'll have a little bit more beachfront property. That's not the worst thing in the world.
How can they possibly laugh at this? It is a clear-cut example of stupidity.
Donald Trump recently told rally-goers in Pennsylvania that one upside of rising sea levels is that you'll have more beachfront property, right? Woohoo! Experts say that rising seas will in fact reduce the length of coastlines and the area of dry land in general. So even when he's trying to make, and it's not a joke, he's trying to show why it's wonderful that we have this climate problem and what it can do for us as a people. He's wrong. I don't think he's ever met a fact that he liked, unless he made it up. Okay? That's where I'm at.
Fair point from legendary comedian Lewis Black.
It's unclear how much more gigawatts of energy we could build with $100 billion, maybe 10, whatever the number is. It's definitely more than what we're going to be creating with all of these pass-through programs. And that's assuming that solar energy actually worked all the time. Of course it doesn't, because at night it just doesn't work.
This is factually wrong. What I think about often, though, is does he really think this? Or does he know his base is that gullible to believe it?
What are they teaching science down there? Have they ever taught science down there? I live down there. Wow. What does it take? I mean, what assurances did they? You bring somebody. How do you explain to these people? I mean, I kind of understand. I've talked about this before. How someone can really believe that not believe in what's happening with the climate, or that they're not worried about it because the Earth will only last 10,000 years, and therefore we're coming to the end anyway, and so there's nothing to worry about. But to be that ignorant, and it's the only word that can be used, is ignorant.
I share the frustrations, Lewis. I really, really do.
This morning, an admission from RFK Jr. that solves a decade-old mystery.
And I was like, oh my God, what did I do? And I was worried because prints were all over that bike.
Kennedy posting a video in which he tells Roseanne Barr that he was responsible for a dead bear cub that turned up in Central Park in 2014.
I had an old bike in my car that somebody asked me to get rid of it. I said, let's go put the bear in Central Park and we'll make it look like he got hit by a bike. We thought it would be amusing for whoever found it.
The incident grabbing headlines at the time, leaving officials scratching their heads.
I was going to skin the bear, and it was very good condition, and I was going to put the meat in my refrigerator. And you can do that in New York State. You can get a bear tag for a roadkill bear.
One word to describe this guy: weird.
We have reached epic insanity in this country. There's no need for comedians. I mean, people can yell about this all they want, but this is ludicrous. And he's running to be the president of the United States. I do not believe anymore that he is Robert Kennedy's son. He can't possibly be. All right? Or there's a genetic flaw somewhere that is just, well, tragic. Tragic. And I forgot to share this. It was the fact that the Robert Kennedy bear incident, which occurred 10 years ago, not when he was young, 10 years ago this occurred. And it was revealed as he was talking to Roseanne Barr. Need I say more?
No, you do not.
Florida's controversial legislation, dubbed by critics as the Don't Say Gay bill and gaining national attention, has been sent to Governor Ron DeSantis to sign, the governor already signaling he supports it.
Later, he would sign it into law. The most recent news?
You should know that in Florida this week, the state tourism website quietly removed its pages with resources dedicated to LGBTQ travel. Because I guess LGBTQers are not showing up there. So they said, oh, let's take this out since we've decided we're not interested in them as a group, and we don't believe really that people should have the choice to live their life the way they want. What? How? You know, oh no, we don't want those tourists. Really? That's what you exist on down there, okay? That is a chunk of it, all right? So get the information out to people. And if you haven't the courage to do it, give up your statehood. But seriously, quietly removed it. How do you can't quietly remove it, you removed it. So it's not quiet, it's removed, it's gone.
Is this. The hits just keep on coming for Florida. Black, meanwhile, has had a history of calling this stuff out for decades.
If you're a single mother with 2 children, which is the toughest job in America as far as I'm concerned, and you're working hard to put food on your family.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
Hard to believe this dude was president and that Republicans keep putting up trash can after trash can, but here we are.
President Bush, in the middle of the war, gave a State of the Union address. Did anybody see it? No! In the middle of his speech, he said, and this is true, he said, if I had a hammer, he said, if you have a hammer, find a nail. This came out of nothing he said before, and nothing followed it. So I went and I grabbed a hammer, and I found a nail, and I walked around my apartment for 2 days awaiting further instruction. Where do you think he wants me to put his picture?
As we said, dude has years in the game.
You have stupid leadership.
There is no more difficult crowd to face in the entire country. I go on the road 5 nights a week, okay? No room is like this. Nothing. I'm sitting with distinguished Democrats, distinguished Republicans, a group of people who can't even agree on what the facts are anymore. And I'm supposed to find out what makes you laugh?
Black ripped the establishment to their faces. I respect it.
I mean, I think Ross Perot really, he ushered in a new era of American politics, an era of American politics that we're living in now, and that ultimately produced a generation on Donald Trump.
Speaking of,
we're going to have to vote again, and for the president, and I'm real happy about that. Because I haven't recovered from voting in 1992. When I walked into a voting booth and I saw the words Bill Clinton, George Bush, and H. Ross Perot, and I said, well, where's the lever that says kill me now? I would have felt better in 1992 if instead of voting, I was actually just found in public.
Black had material on him as well. Colby Covington.
I do believe that. I think they stacked the deck against us because they don't want we, the people, to have control of this country again. And that's what Trump stands for. He stands for democracy. He stands for freedom.
He had his 2 minutes of fame.
You, LeBron James, you're a coward. You're a spineless coward. And you're
He pandered in those 2 minutes.
You're reading your book here. I'm sorry if we're boring you.
just trying to enlighten myself.
He tried to stay in the pandering's good graces.
Just like my good friend Candace Owens told me, kings don't worry about the opinions of cockroaches, Ariel. Thank you, Candace Owens. I love you. Thank you so much for coming to my fight and supporting me. I will have you wrap that belt around my waist this year. I've marked my words, Candace Owens.
And when he felt it slipping away.
You know, who they're going to have to call? They're going to have to call the bad guy for hire, Colby Chaos Covington, Donald Trump's favorite fighter. Got my son, Keep America Great hat on. We got our new campaign coming out this year.
He went even lower to stay in the news.
I'm going to bring you to a place you never want to be. I'm going to bring you to 7th layer hell.
Okay.
No, I'm bringing you to 7th layer hell. We'll say what's up to your dad while we're there.
Oh!
Another individual who fell off.
All I gotta say is Trump 2020. I look like paying an extra 33 in tax for Biden. Sleepy Joe. Trump 2020.
SoundCloud rapper Lil Pump.
And speaking of sound, music, and other things, one of the big superstars of the world, Little Pimp. There he is.
Or as Trump calls him, Little Pimp.
Corona's fake.
2 peas in a pod, really.
Yes, it's Lil Trump.
On Kick, the rival streaming service to Twitch, this happened. Pump and Covington were in the gym when the UFC fighter would put the rapper in a chokehold. Covington, a trained professional in MMA, would ignore Pump's taps and choke him out to a state of being unconscious. Covington rightfully is getting dragged by the internet for his role in this video. First being, it was just not needed. And secondly, ignoring the taps, which is a cardinal sin of MMA. And we know this because he uttered on film, "Look at his eyes, bro. He's out. Look at his eyes. Holy." And then when Pump regained consciousness, who I cannot believe is only 24 years old, they told him, "You went to sleep for real." I'll save my thoughts for the end. Via Marca, the incident also sparked a larger conversation about the responsibility athletes have when showcasing their skills in non-professional settings. Covington's move was seen as a joke, but others voiced concerns about the message it might send. With Covington being a former champion in the UFC, his actions carry weight, and critics fear that this kind of behavior can inspire dangerous imitations among fans unfamiliar with the potential consequences of MMA techniques. I partially buy that. I more so buy that it was just dumb, that it was stupid. And even if, hypothetically, Pump were to say, "Yeah, choke me out. We're going to go up against one another for kicks," pardon the pun, for my live stream and for people to watch and the views, and it's going to be great, blah, blah, blah. If it gets to that point, choke me out, bro. No. It should never be that way, because you have a trained professional against quite literally an amateur. And what could have happened is far worse. I understand the example that this may set. How about it just shouldn't happen at all? And yet, amazingly, their bond is over the worst of the worst. Lastly, from MMA fighting, in the video, Covington, a 3-time UFC title challenger, applies the choke and initially uses a gable grip to lock up the submission, but Pump ends up tapping his own chest rather than Covington's arm to signify he's done. Actually, I saw him tap his chest and then tap Covington's arm. So Covington then switches to the more traditional rear naked choke with his arms wrapped around Pump's head and neck to secure the submission. A moment later, Pump falls unconscious from the choke and Covington finally releases. Covington would go on to say, "This is not for little kids to try at the gym. Please do not try this at home. This is dangerous stuff. You don't play mixed martial arts. You can play basketball, a kid's game, where you put a ball in a hoop. This is a real sport where people die. This is dangerous. This ain't something to F around with." I understand that point. What I would also say is this. People have died playing other sports, just maybe not from being knocked out or being choked out to that state. What I take umbrage with is that, once more, Covington is the trained pro in this instance, and he, on a live stream, is choking out Lil Pump, who is so tiny. And, you know, some might say, "I can't believe you're defending him." You can't defend the indefensible in this case, which is Covington's actions. And what I also find to be rather odd is that these two really bond over the same guy whose property was going to host an event, a fundraiser for the January 6th insurrectionists at his property in New Jersey, Bedminster, and one of the attendees, maybe even a speaker, was going to be none other than Colby Covington. How far this man has fallen is a case study from a guy who was well liked but knew he had to play up some angle in order to have longevity in the sport. He admitted to doing this, which he shouldn't have done, on Candace Owens' show, where he admitted to being a sellout. After that match in Brazil, where he won, I believe he defeated Damian Maia, and he went full heel racist bigot guy. And it's also pretty revealing who rooted for him. What family was their cage side after he made that pivot? It was Donald Trump's. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day. Calling out elite people in comedy should be the rule of thumb.
I think Donald Trump's hair is actually another creature. Yeah. The hair's like going, good night, Donald. Good night, Donald. There we go.
Maybe it goes out. It goes out and makes money while he's asleep.
There is something about punching down that feels taboo, and punching up is the way to go.
Crack's not really my thing, but if it was, it would be fine if I was on that side.
Wow.
Don Jr.'s on coke.
We won with poorly educated. I love the poorly educated.
I'm a very stable genius.
It is very important, the work that the Jordan Kleppers are doing, the work that the Good Liars are doing, the work that our team here at the Turks are doing, and many more.
What he does, he secretly puts the marker on the end of the putter, and then he looks like he's marking it, but really, now the mark is 3 feet closer. That's a way easier putt.
He cheats a lot. That if you cheat at golf, you cheat at life. The saying goes for Donald Trump.
In my opinion, only a loser can buy the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys have been so good so long that, and the expectation level has been so high and will continue to be so high, that if the Dallas Cowboys become just a good team or above average team, the man who owns that team is going to be called a loser.
Donald Trump in football is reminiscent of Donald Trump in business. After all, he said this of the Dallas Cowboys. Meanwhile, they are the most valuable franchise in sports per Forbes and Bloomberg.
Well, folks, we're winning. We're winning. We're winning.
Trump's ownership of the New Jersey Generals.
When he bought into this league.
Check us out. The USFL.
He gets the Generals. We need to move to fall. We have to move to fall. We need to take on the
immediately.
NFL.
He tried leveraging his position.
Donald was hell-bent to get into the NFL, either via an accommodation or a merger.
For this reason, and this reason only. Thus, he met with then NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle.
In this meeting, he says to Rozelle, I don't care about the USFL. You tell me what I have to do to get an NFL franchise. Pete Rozelle says to him, as long as I am with the NFL, you will never have a team in this league.
It didn't go well, and Trump does what he always does.
The USFL suing the NFL for a total of $1.32 billion.
His case went to trial. He embarrassed himself on the stand, and that $1.32 billion demand was not reached, though the jury did award him and his team $1. The league would be killed in 1986, largely because of the man, the myth, the legend, Donald John Trump. Trump also tried buying the Colts, but failed in that bid as well. A loser through and through. And yet he tried to buy another team.
We celebrate the Super Bowl, New England Patriots.
It's true. The New England Patriots, Donald Trump's obsession, was once potentially owned by the man. According to the Boston Globe, the former president had real interest after Billy Sullivan, who founded the Patriots in 1960, with the now defunct American Football League, or AFL, was facing bankruptcy. Long and short, he was trying to sell the team, and thus he needed a buyer. According to the Globe, Trump had real interest, but refused because his team told him between the team and the stadium, there was $104 million in debt, and that was too much for him to handle. It was another awful business decision. According to the Post, the team sold for $85 million, then $110 million until Robert Kraft bought the team for $172 million in 1994. They are now worth, according to Forbes, $7.4 billion. Then 2014 happened. Longtime Buffalo Bills owner Ralph Wilson, the man who founded the team in 1959, a Pro Football Hall of Famer, passed away at 95 years of age. He was the last surviving member of the original AFL owners. So the team was up for sale, and Trump once again was interested, but so was this guy.
Rogers Communications up there in Toronto, they have a relationship with the Bills from playing games there. They own Sky Dome. The league wants to keep this a regional franchise. I can tell you one interesting name in that fray, though. John Bon Jovi has significant interest about trying to purchase that team and run that team one day. I'm told he added legs to his tour to spend more time in Buffalo. Wow. He's been around hobnobbing, meeting various power brokers in that area.
You heard that correctly. John Bon Jovi was spearheading a group to purchase the Buffalo Bills. However, the key caveat was this: fans don't want the team to move. There was speculation the singer would do it anyway. The smear campaign was on.
Sandy Beach and Company. Michael Caputo in for Sandy today, who's off on a well-deserved vacation. It's
his testimony before the House Intelligence Committee happened behind closed doors, but Michael Caputo, now a fill-in radio talk show host in Buffalo, New York,
on News Radio 930 WBEN,
wanted it live, broadcast, and in full view. So instead, he says he's telling CNN exactly what he planned to tell the committee about Russia and the Trump campaign he was involved with.
This man, Michael Caputo, a conservative political operative, would be playing a huge role behind the scenes. One of his jobs was working for Russian company Gazprom. He is now an advisor to the 2024 Trump campaign. According to Rolling Stone's Noah Shatman, a group of Buffalonians went around town to bars, restaurants, and more, demanding they refuse to play Bon Jovi songs. Radio stations would participate in the protest. Bon Jovi free zones popped up all around the city. Posters and signs depicting the artist as a villain were everywhere. From Shatman, Trump had to distance himself from the whole thing because NFL rules said he couldn't be part of any PR efforts surrounding the sale, but he seemed to keep tabs on the campaign. Ultimately, as we know, the Pegulas, who own the Sabres, bought the Buffalo Bills. The same Pegula who allegedly said this. Former NFL Media Group employee Jim Trotter's lawsuit states that Pegula, owner of the Bills, stated in reference to player protests against racial injustice that, quote, if the black players don't like it here, they should go back to Africa and see how bad it is, close quote. Bon Jovi, meanwhile, was heartbroken, saying of Trump, it's genius what he did, because he was taking out a serious candidate to buy the team and then hoped that he would get it at a bargain price. But we were as real got, and you know, I'm brokenhearted because I would have loved it.
And I remember this as a user of Twitter.com in 2014. Yeah. We are left with a man who is constantly posting about this story, about the Bills, and why he didn't actually, he didn't want them anyway.
I'm not going to try to do a Trump impression, but I'll read a couple. I'm not going to be watching much NFL football anymore. Too boring, too many flags, too soft. Then another one, boring games. The NFL games are so boring now that actually I'm glad I didn't get the Bills. Boring games. Glad I didn't get the Bills. Better lucky than good.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, the NFL would become the most popular television show in modern American history.
As Shatman wrote, had Trump's play for the Bills actually worked out, he might never have been in this position. In fact, he might not have run for president in the first place. One ex-Trump associate agrees. If he was doing that, owning and operating the team and running that kind of business, that would have been relatively new for him. I think it would have been hard for him to then put all his energy into running for president. Hey, I appreciate you watching. Now, if you can, please do become a channel member by going to youtube.com/TYT Sports and clicking the join button. If that's too much for you, you can just go to tyt.com/join to become a member. It helps all of us out here at the Young Turks and keeps our network afloat. In addition, you could follow me on my socials on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.